Hello friends! Today we're going to talk about a very important topic, and that is some of the challenges that homemakers may face during divorce proceedings. When I refer to homemakers, I am referring to those often unsung heroes of the family unit, the spouses that stay home and out of the workforce to focus primarily on taking care of the children, or they may focus primarily on managing the household, making sure that everything there is taken care of, or they may focus primarily on supporting the career of the spouse that is out in the workforce. While homemakers contribute significantly to the family unit, they may face specific disadvantages in divorce court. So in today's video, we're going to talk about how, with the right preparation, these specific challenges faced by homemakers can be managed. So stay tuned. Welcome back to the Divorce Broadcast. My name is Manny Segarra, coming to you from Miami, Florida. All right, so the very first thing that I want to talk about is the essential role of homemakers in a marriage and why their contributions are so important, both in life and during a marriage. The work that homemakers do is valuable and oftentimes underappreciated, but it plays a crucial role in a family's well-being, and it should also be recognized legally as well. Homemakers offer emotional stability and support to their families. Homemakers are often the backbones of the family unit. They ensure a nurturing environment and manage the day-to-day tasks. While homemakers may not be bringing home a physical paycheck every month or every week because they're not out in the workforce, their contributions to the family unit significantly impacts the family's financial health. Also, there are several studies that have been published that demonstrate the significant financial value of the contributions and efforts of homemakers. If some of the work of these homemakers for either like caregiving or managing the household were outsourced, it would cost a significant amount of money over the course of the year. And by having the homemaker, these family units save these expenses. In divorce cases, it often used to be the case that homemakers were overlooked by the court, but that shouldn't be the case. Courts are now recognizing that homemakers deserve financial compensation as well as their fair share of the marital assets. Homemakers are also entitled to seek alimony. Sometimes the jurisdictions may have different types of alimony to provide for these homemakers, and they are also able to ask the court to distribute to them their fair share of any marital assets. Now that we've given a brief intro as to some of the contributions of the homemakers, let's talk a little bit about the challenges that they may face during a divorce. And the first challenge is usually the biggest, and that is a lack of financial independence. Many homemakers have very limited access and or limited control over the family, either assets or money or income. They have very little knowledge about the finances of the family because they're focusing on taking care of the kids or managing the home, and this makes them vulnerable. The spouse who works outside of the home may have better control or complete control over all of the bank accounts, all of the investments, all of the other financial assets, leaving the homemakers to feel unprepared. Whenever a homemaker comes to me for a consultation, I always equate it to that person sometimes being in a big dark cave with a little candle in their hand. At that point, you are surrounded by darkness and cannot see the full picture of what's going on. So the best way to try to combat this is to make sure that as a homemaker, you are gathering all of the important financial documents early in the process and keeping abreast or keeping aware of all of the marital finances. As a homemaker, it is imperative for you to always have access to important financial records, to be aware of tax returns, to have copies of them, to be aware of the different bank statements. It helps in the future, in the event that there's a divorce, for the homemaker to at least have a working knowledge of what the financial circumstances are of that particular marriage. The next challenge that homemakers face is also a difficult one, and that is the fact that alimony is not always guaranteed. What I mean by that is that many homemakers automatically assume that if there's a divorce, they'll get alimony. Well, that's not the case. Remember that a court will consider many different factors when determining whether or not to award anybody alimony. Some of the factors include the length of the marriage. If the homemaker and the spouse that goes out into the workforce weren't married for a long time, the court may not award alimony. Also, the court will consider the ability of the homemaker to enter back into the workforce, their earning capacity. They will also consider whether or not the spouse who is out working can afford to pay alimony. If their business was unsuccessful, or if they didn't make enough money and they can't pay alimony, alimony is not guaranteed. Remember, the goal of alimony is usually for a temporary or durational amount of time to try to get that homemaker back out into the workforce. Any homemakers facing divorce may want to consider meeting with an attorney to see about what their realistic expectations may be for an alimony award and how long given their particular situation. Additionally, as a practice tip, these homemakers have to prepare for a possible vocational examination. This is an examination by an expert that will determine what their earning capacity is, or if they have the ability to enter the workforce, and try to impute that income on them for purposes of an alimony determination. So be prepared for a vocational examination if you are a homemaker. An additional challenge that homemakers may face is that their career sacrifices may go unnoticed. What I mean by that is that the homemakers, when they got out of college or they got their professional license, instead of pursuing their career that way, they focused in on the family unit, home, or children. They stayed home instead of going out into the workforce. They supported the career of the other spouse. As a result, their earning potential is taking a significant hit. They will have less financial security in the future because they didn't have decade upon decade of being out in the workforce if they're focusing on the children. Sometimes the courts will look at this disparity and offer homemakers a more favorable settlement. So it is very important for a homemaker to advise their attorney of all the sacrifices, especially the career sacrifices that they made in order to contribute to the family unit. Another very significant and what some viewers may find surprising challenge for homemakers is the fact that custody battles may be difficult or tough for these homemakers. A lot of homemakers assume that since they were in charge of taking care of the children during the course of the marriage, they will automatically get either full custody of the children or a majority custody of the children. However, I'm here to tell you that is not always the case. Remember that the courts will consider many different factors to determine what's in the best interest of the children. These factors can include which parent provides for the emotional, physical, and financial stability of the children. If the homemaker is just getting out into the workforce, they may not be able to provide financially for the children as well as the other parent. So it is very important for the homemakers to show the court that they can provide stability to the children, not just emotional stability, but financial stability during a divorce case in which there is a custody battle. The final challenge that we will discuss that homemakers may face when they're going through a divorce is the challenge of rebuilding their lives after a divorce. Homemakers may face significant hurdles when trying to rebuild their lives after divorce. These hurdles or obstacles may be professional, financial, or emotional. A lot of times these homemakers who were focused on contributing to the family unit have been out of the workforce for several years, and it's difficult for them to get reintegrated into the workforce. They may not have the requisite educational courses or vocational training. Perhaps the industry has moved in a different direction and they are not up to speed on what the new industry standards are. So it is very important for homemakers to seek support, whether it's legal counsel or from family or from therapy. While divorces may seem uncertain, it's important for homemakers to know that there is a path forward and that through the court system they may be able to successfully get their financial needs met and a fair compensation for their contribution to the marriage. All right, so that is a wrap on our video identifying some of the challenges that homemakers may face if they go through a divorce. Before we sign off though, we've got to give our love out to those homemakers. We know that being a homemaker is one of the most important jobs in the world. So hats off to all of the homemakers out there. If any of you know any homemakers that might find this information useful, have them look us up at www.segarralawfirm.com. We have offices in Miami and Orlando, Florida. Se habla español. Do us a favor and like this video. Subscribe to the Divorce Broadcast, and we will talk to all of you soon.